Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So I would like to talk a little bit. Maybe close the doors because we want to have class here. So can you close the door or you have to be quiet? If you're quiet, then we can leave the door open. But if there's so much talking, it would stay. So I want to talk tonight a little bit about Srila Prabhupada. Yes. Because actually to become Krishna conscious, we have to become Prabhupada conscious first. And very soon we have Janmashtami. And next day after Janmashtami is? Radhashtami. No. Prabhupada's appearance. So what is more important? Krishna's appearance or Prabhupada's appearance? Prabhupada's appearance. Yes. Because Prabhupada is the special person who gives us Krishna. Yes. Yes. People usually don't realize this. They make some big celebration for Janmashtami and then next day everybody is tired and people don't nicely celebrate Prabhupada's appearance. But actually, for me, it's my favorite festival, is Prabhupada's appearance. Yes. We don't even understand what Prabhupada did. Yes. Because Prabhupada was Shaktavesha avatar. He did not take birth in this world like you and me. We were forced to take birth. But Prabhupada actually was sent by Krishna to come in order to fulfill Mahaprabhu's prediction that the holy name would be chanted all over the world. You know, yes. And Prabhupada, he actually made the essence of the Vedic literatures available to the whole world in a pretty simple and easily understandable language. You know, because the Vedic literatures is such a big body of literatures. And today, Kali Yuga, people are so restless. They don't have time to study the whole Vedas, right? So Prabhupada, you know, presented the essence of the Vedas. And in that way, Prabhupada actually saved humanity of this world. Yes. Because here I preach a lot in Hindu communities. Now I'm not so much going to Nepal anymore, but for many years I was preaching in Nepal. So Nepal is Hindu country, you know, and India. And I have seen that the Hindus, they would be completely confused if it wasn't for Prabhupada's books, right? Yes. You know, without Prabhupada's books, Hindus are confused. Who is who? And they worship everybody. Whole hodgepodge. You know? Yes, there's Durga, Devi, Ganesh, Shiv, everybody there. You know? But they don't understand who is who. And they don't understand that Krishna is the source of everything. He is the supreme. And the demigods are just like the ministers in the government. You know? Prabhupada was giving this example of the prison house. So you can maybe some prisoner, some person working in the prison. If you have good relationship with him, he can maybe give you an extra blanket, yes, or cup of tea, extra cup of tea. You know, but he cannot let you out of the prison. So by worshipping the demigods, all right, we get an extra cup of tea or an extra blanket, you know. But they cannot release us from the prison house of this material world. Only Krishna can. So Prabhupada really established the whole purpose of the Vedas, namely bhakti. Yes. Not just worshipping the demigods to have some happy, pious life here. No, material world is a prison house. You know, we are not interested in just getting something nice in return for our worship. Now we want pure bhakti and we want to get back to the spiritual world. That's the goal, you know. And Prabhupada clearly established this. And this knowledge was completely lost, you know. So Prabhupada's books are really the saving grace for humanity. Are you reading Prabhupada's books? Yes. Who of you has read whole Bhagavad Gita? Okay, not so bad. But what about Srimad Bhagavatam? You have read whole Srimad Bhagavatam? Half. First 6 cantos?
Almost done.
Almost. Yes.
Continue basis.
Yes. See, so Bhagavad Gita is like the ABC, it's the very basis. But then Srimad Bhagavatam, there's so much deep knowledge there, so much wisdom, you know. Yeah, so we have to study these books because, you know, you all young fellows and you all like to be educated, but we only look at material education, but we neglect the spiritual education. So we have to study Prabhupada's books very sincerely and deeply, best in the association of devotees. So we understand Prabhupada's mood, you know. Yes. Because we know Prabhupada is the founder Acharya of ISKCON, right? And very often we so cheaply repeat these words, founder Acharya, but we don't understand what it actually means, you know? So it actually means that, you know, Prabhupada, he established ISKCON and he created the society with his vision and his mood and his standards and how he wanted, you know, this Krishna consciousness to be spread. So he put all that in this society of ISKCON. And all of you are actually the future here of ISKCON in Paris, you know. So you have to deeply understand what Prabhupada wanted, you know. So we have to very deeply get to know Srila Prabhupada. And Prabhupada was always saying, if you want to know me, read my books. Yes. Yes. Otherwise, if our spiritual life is not based on Prabhupada and his books, then very easily it is sentimental. You know? So yes, we like Krishna and Radharani, all very nice, Prasad, Kirtan, but it is sentimental. And sometimes there may be something happening in your life, or even in ISKCON, some things are happening which are not so nice. And if our practice is not based on Prabhupada's books, then very easily we lose faith. And we think, oh, this ISKCON maybe is not so good after all or something. You know? But if our practice is based on Prabhupada's books, then it doesn't matter what happens in our life or in ISKCON, we are solid, we understand Prabhupada's books are perfect. You know? Yes. So we actually have to be connected with Prabhupada. And even our Diksha Gurus, who of you is initiated? You are initiated. Dika, yes. And you are sheltered or something? Yes, you chose Guru. Yeah. And you chant Pranam. Yes. So, see, the purpose of Dika Guru is actually to connect us with Prabhupada. He is meant to give us Prabhupada. So the goal is Prabhupada. It doesn't end with the Dika Guru. You know, he is just the link to Prabhupada. So very important that we deeply understand Prabhupada. Prabhupada should be the most prominent person in our life. Prabhupada, yes. And one other way how to really get to know Prabhupada is by reading books about his pastimes. There's so many nice books describing Prabhupada's activities when he was in this world. Have you read any of these books about Prabhupada's life?
I just read the Prabhupadamrita.
By Satsvara Maharaj. Yes.
Srila Prabhupada.
Yes, the short version.
No, sir.
Yes, but there's actually a long version. There is five or six volumes. Yes. And then that's only one book. I mean, everybody has to know about Prabhupada's life. Because how can you learn to love a person if you don't know anything about him? You know? Yes. Yes. So actually Prabhupada was sometimes giving this example in regards to Krishna. That he was saying, you imagine there's a man, he says, I love my wife. So then you ask, so what's the name of your wife? Oh, I don't know. Well, what does she like to eat? Oh, I don't know. You know, what does she look like? Oh, I don't know. Well, how can you love your wife if you don't know anything, you know, about your wife? So same thing there is with Prabhupada. How can we learn to love Prabhupada if we don't know anything about him? You know? Yes. And there is so many nice books describing Prabhupada's life. You know? When I met ISKCON, that was the main books I read for the first few years. I didn't have much taste for reading Bhagavatam, but I was just reading all these books about Prabhupada's life. There's so many. Yes, like Mukunda Maharaj wrote a nice book, Miracle on 26 Second Avenue. Then Harisori Prabhu wrote so many books. He traveled with Prabhupada for many years as secretary. He wrote a Transcendental Diary. And then there's Shrutikirti Prabhu's book. He also traveled with Prabhupada. So many books describing Prabhupada's life. Then Kurma Prabhu wrote a book about Prabhupada's life, travels in Australia, New Zealand, the Transcendental Adventure. So many books about Prabhupada's life. So you should really read them. And it is not so demanding reading. It's easy reading. And when you read these books, it's like you are with Prabhupada. You know? And it is so exciting to read how Prabhupada was dealing with all the different challenges, how he was training his disciples, how he was tirelessly traveling the whole world, you know, and the young boys, they could hardly keep up with Prabhupada's pace, you know, even though he was an old man, you know. So when you read all these descriptions about Prabhupada's pastimes, then Prabhupada becomes very dear to you, and you actually get to know him, you know. Yes. So sometimes people think I'm a Prabhupada disciple, you know, because I'm elderly and all that. But no, I joined in 1985. And Prabhupada left 77. But because I read so many of these books about Prabhupada's life, I feel I have met Prabhupada. I traveled with Prabhupada all around the world, you know, because I read all these books. And some of these books are so amazing that you really feel you're right there with Prabhupada, you know? Yes. So we have to be deeply connected with Prabhupada by not only reading his books, but also books about his life, you know. And Prabhupada was saying that the books, Prabhupada's books will be the law books for the next 10,000 years. So that's a long time. The law books for humanity, how civilized human beings should live. That's what Prabhupada's books are like. So, and if people will read Prabhupada's books for the next 10,000 years, then obviously they will also discuss, hopefully, Prabhupada's pastimes for the next 10,000 years. You know? Yes. Because, you know, people would want to know not only about Prabhupada's books, but who is this personality and his pastimes. Like we discuss Mahaprabhu's pastimes in Chaitanya Charitamrita, you know. So people will also discuss Prabhupada's pastimes. Yes. And that's why it is so wonderful that all these devotees who had close association with Prabhupada, they wrote these books. So we can get to know Prabhupada more by reading them. Yes. And I mean, when we imagine there is one book, it's called Our Srila Prabhupada, A Friend to All. That's one of my favorite books about Prabhupada. And it is very special because it is not written by Prabhupada's disciples, but one Matager, she had this idea to interview all kinds of persons in India who met Prabhupada before he went to America. And that gives us some insights into Prabhupada's life before he came to the Western world. Because what do we know about that part of his life? Nothing really. Only what Prabhupada shared himself. But Sadhu will not share his deep secrets. You know? No, he will not share his deep secrets of his personal bhajan. So this Mataji, she had this idea. She interviewed people in Mayapur, people in Vrindavan, in Delhi, so many personalities who had some dealings with Prabhupada. And she compiled this book. And this is really amazing. Because there you realize so much more what struggle Prabhupada accepted to bring this knowledge to the Western world. You know? And for example, when Prabhupada lived in Vrindavan, who of you visited Vrindavan? Who was in Vrindavan? Nobody. No. Only you? You were not in Vrindavan? No? No. Really? Oh my God. You also have not been to Vrindavan? ISKCON? Oh. Oh. So who is she? Is she the mother of any of you? No. But she's also from Bangladesh. Yes. And she's initiated. Yes. Okay. Yeah, so I mean, my God, if you really want to, you know, take your spiritual life seriously, you have to visit Vrindavan, Mayapur. Prabhupada was saying to visit the holy places, Mayapur, Vrindavan, is as important as eating. So you haven't been eating yet. Yes. Because that really nourishes your bhakti life. You know? Yes. And especially in Vrindavan, there's Radha Damodar temple. You've been to Radha Damodar temple? Radha Damodar? Can't remember. Radha Damodar temple, there's Prabhupada's rooms. Yes. 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 Where he lived before he went to the Western world. Yes. You can see his bed, very simple, small room, you know. So that's where he prepared himself. Yes. And I mean, see, in those days, 1964, 63, it was almost a crazy idea for an old man like Prabhupada, who had no money, to go to America. It was completely unrealistic. Nobody in Vrindavan believed that Prabhupada would ever get there. Yes. Yes. So, when you read this book, Our Srila Prabhupada, A Friend to All, you get some idea that Prabhupada had many sadhu friends in Vrindavan, and he was regularly meeting with them and having some Bhagavad Gita and all this. And they knew, his sadhu friends knew, that Prabhupada wanted to go to the Western Bridge. But they did not think that Prabhupada would ever make it. And they also did not encourage him. Because in those days, people in Vrindavan, they did not want to go to the Matager countries. You know? Yes, because they knew, in America, people eat meat and they engage in all these activities. They did not want to go there. But now, of course, everybody wants to go to the Matager countries. You know? So this is how Kali Yuga progressed. You know, now people are not afraid of Matager country. They want to go there and enjoy it, you know, and also engage in simple activities. You know, but in these days, people did not want to go there, and they did not encourage Prabhupada to go there. You know, they were not in favor of this idea, and also, in those days, people were not flying so much. Even in India, I mean, when did I go first time into India? In 1989. 1989. Yes. Were you then already born? See, so 1989, I visited first time India. So even then, there was no domestic airlines in India. All these airlines, you know, Jet Airways and Indigo and Go Air and whatnot. You know, you traveled in India? Yes. So these airlines did not exist in 89. There was only Indian Airlines. Air India was international and Indian Airlines was domestic. That was practically all. Indian Airlines. You know, so people were not flying all over the planet like now. You know? So, and in that way, it was just such a crazy idea. Prabhupada actually was so poor, we don't even imagine. It is described in this book how Prabhupada was once in Delhi and he was waiting for several hours outside one rich person's house. You know, and one man came by and saw Prabhupada there. He knew him and he asked, "Oh, Swamiji, what are you waiting for?" Yes, and Prabhupada said, "I'm waiting for a 5 rupee donation." So, of course, in those days, 5 rupees was more than now. Maybe it was the equivalent of 300-400 rupees, but still not so much. You know? So, and then this man came back several hours later. It was in summer, in the hot summer sun. Yeah. Prabhupada was still standing there waiting. So this man asked him, "So, did you get your 5 rupee donation?" And Prabhupada said, "No, but I'm going to wait here." And then this man said, "I will give you 10 rupees. Come, let's go." You know? And then this man gave him 10 rupees. And then Prabhupada said, "Can you give me this 10 rupees every month?" We have this Nitya explanation. Right? Yeah. So this was the big ever. He took Prabhupada and he bought him some cloth because Prabhupada was so poor. He didn't even have nice dhoti. It was all ripped and bad, because he had no money. So he gave him some cloth, and then he asked him, "Oh, is there anything else I can do for you?" And then Prabhupada said, "Oh, I'm waiting for this opportunity to go to America." People did not believe. They were thinking, this is a joke. How will this poor old man go to America, So, and then Prabhupada was printing his Back to Godhead magazine, But in those days, Back to Godhead looked very different. It was like a very simple newspaper, just some cheap thin paper, just newspaper, not some glossy magazine like it is now with color photos. It was not that. It was just simple, newspaper, just some few pages. So Prabhupada printed this newspaper. I can't remember, maybe every 2 months or something. He printed it in Delhi and then he distributed it in Vrindavan. And people in this book describing how Prabhupada had this bicycle, and this bicycle was making some funny noise. The chain was not oiled, and it was making some, and the children could hear, "Oh, Prabhupada, Swamiji is coming with the bicycle." And they all had some subscription. They were getting every time the Back to God, So all the children were coming with the rupee coins to get the Back to God, And I am pretty sure Prabhupada consciously he let the chain make this noise. He didn't fix it. He could have put some drops of oil in there. But this was Prabhupada's miking. Like in Bangladesh, you announce, with rickshaw, the miking. So Prabhupada's miking system was his funny bicycle chain, which was making the funny noise. Because so many personalities in this book, they're describing the funny noise of Prabhupada's bicycle. It was known all over Vrindavan. Everybody knew, oh, here comes Swamiji, with his Back to Godhead magazine, all the kids were coming and getting it, Yeah, so, but Prabhupada's poverty was not ordinary poverty. It was not like some poor person here in Paris or something. So Prabhupada's poverty, it was actually a special arrangement by the Lord to make Prabhupada even more, feeling more helplessly dependent on the Lord. Yes. And also, if Prabhupada had had a lot of money, then everybody would have said, "Oh yeah, of course, Prabhupada was a rich man, so of course he could spread Krishna consciousness, Yeah. But because Prabhupada was so poor, that made his success even more glorious, Yes. So it was a special loving exchange between Krishna and his pure devotee to put him in such a destitute position, so that Prabhupada was really crying out to Krishna and to Guru, and how will I be successful in bringing this Krishna consciousness to the Western world? He was so dependent, helplessly calling out. So, and then when Prabhupada was successful, that glorified Prabhupada, but it also made it very clear that Prabhupada's success was only possible by Krishna's arrangement. So it glorified Krishna and it glorified Prabhupada. Yes. She wants to know too. Yeah, you translate something for her. And also in this story, in this book, there's one amazing story where Prabhupada used to go to Advaita Acharya's house. This is near Mayapur, Shaktipur. And Prabhupada used to go there and sometimes spend the whole day chanting japa, praying. Oh, praying, how can I fulfill this mission? My Gurudev told me I should bring this Krishna consciousness to the West. And Prabhupada just had no plan, no idea how will this happen. So he was going there regularly, even when he was Grihastha. So the Pujari from Advaita Acharya's house, he wrote this down, the story, which is in this book, Our Srila Prabhupada, a friend of ours. Actually, I arranged that this book is translated in Bangladesh. They printed it. Yes. I'm just thinking, how can you get it? When somebody goes to Bangladesh, you should ask Sakala Sharif. Yes, that's the title. Yes, yes. Because it's my favorite book, and I asked the devotees to translate it in Chittagong. And then, just one volume. Yes. So if somebody goes to Bangladesh, you get some copies and bring them here. In Chittagong, the devotees maybe have them. Shakala Shurit. Yes. Yes. So in any case, there's the story which the Pujari from Advaita Acharya's house tells. That Prabhupada used to come even in white, when he was wearing white dhoti. He was coming once a month or so, and he would spend the whole day there chanting. And then he used to leave. And then for some time he did not come anymore. But then one day he came again. And he was in saffron, in sannyas cloth. Yes. And again, he was spending the whole day chanting there. And sometimes tears would come down from his eyes. And he was chanting the whole day. So, and then when Prabhupada got up to leave, then the Pujari asked him, "Oh, who are you? I have seen you coming here so many times. So who are you?" And then Prabhupada introduced himself. He said his name and his Guru's name. And then he said, actually, my Gurudev gave me this order to bring this Krishna consciousness to the Western world. But I have no idea how will I do this. And then he said, tomorrow I will go on the ship to America. Oh. Tomorrow, and he said, and I have no idea what will happen there for me. So, and therefore I'm coming here praying the whole day just to get Guru's mercy, Nityananda's mercy, Rupa and Sanatana Goswami's mercy, just to somehow help me and guide me. And Prabhupada was saying, I feel so helpless and unqualified. I don't know, how will I do this? So you imagine, one day before Prabhupada got on the boat, he spent the whole day praying. Yes, yes. That's how Prabhupada was preparing. So we imagine if we go to India the day before, we probably think we have so many more important things to do than sitting all day praying for mercy and guidance, how to take advantage of visiting the Holy Dham. So, but that was the most important thing for Prabhupada. He prayed the whole day. So, and this Pujari was really moved, and then and Prabhupada asked him for his blessings, and then he watched him walking off, and then some years later, some devotees, some white devotees came to Advaita Acharya's house, And he was thinking, okay, some white Western people with chopper beads, tilak, neck beads. This was first time in history, you know. So, and then once, one devotee, one American devotee, he gave him a nice, colorful Back to Godhead magazine. Okay. And then he was looking at the pictures, and then he saw a picture of Prabhupada. And then he realized, oh, he was successful. You know, wow, yes, yes. So, and then he went to Mayapur, and he told the whole story, you know. So, and then this Mataji, she made this interview with him, you know, and then that's how we know the story, you know. So these are deep secrets. Prabhupada would have never said this. Oh yes, I went so many times to Advaita Jaya's house and I was praying all day there. These are very deep secrets. Prabhupada would have never shared this with anybody, you know. But by the mercy of this book, we know about these stories, you know. And there's another amazing story in there also. This is in Vrindavan, next to Radha Damodar temple. There was one sadhu living who also knows Prabhupada very well. And he describes in this book that in the middle of the night, he always heard some crying. And many times he was wondering, what is this, you know? And then one night, it was full moon night, so it was bright, you know. So he went up to this rooftop and he looked down in the courtyard of Radha Damodar temple. And there he saw Prabhupada was sweeping the floor outside of Rupa Goswami Samadhi. That's in Radha Damodar courtyard, Rupa Goswami Samadhi. So Prabhupada was sweeping the floor there. And while he was sweeping, he was crying out, "Hey Rupa, hey Sanatan, hey Gurudev, give me some mercy, some blessings, some guidance. How will I bring this Krishna consciousness to the Western world?" So Prabhupada, every night, he was doing like this. You know? He was sweeping the floor, calling out desperately for guidance, feeling helpless. You know? And actually, that's how we are empowered by Guru. If we feel hopeless, if we feel hopelessly dependent, if we feel unqualified, then Krishna uses us as a tool in his hands. You know? Yes. And very often I'm thinking, God, if we would just have one drop of this mood, that we feel hopeless, that we pray to Prabhupada. We should be praying to Prabhupada like this. Oh Prabhupada, how can we spread Krishna consciousness here in Paris? You know? Yes, yes. Actually, Prabhupada said that you and Radharani here, she looks like real Radharani looks like. She is the closest to Radharani. Yes. You Radharani. I remember reading this. Yes. You know, so, and Prabhupada installed these deities here. You know, Prabhupada installed them here. So, you know, you should all be crying out to Prabhupada every night. How you can spread this help, spreading this Krishna consciousness here in Paris. You know? Yes. And if we have this mood, oh Prabhupada, please empower us, please guide us. How can we bring people to Krishna consciousness? So then Krishna and Prabhupada empower us. You know? Yes. Because we need some empowerment. We cannot do anything by ourselves. You know? We actually need that empowerment of Guru and Prabhupada. I need Prabhupada. You know? Yes. So like that, so that's how Prabhupada prepared himself, by every night sweeping the floor outside of Rupa Goswami Samadhi, and praying. And there's also another nice story in this book, where one winter morning Prabhupada was in a very serious mood, and one boy, he came to serve him. And then he noticed that Prabhupada's mood was different, and he asked him, what happened? And then Prabhupada said, I had some visitors last night. And he described, he said, yes, two very special personalities came, and they had very beautiful lotus eyes, and they had only coupons on, and they looked very effulgent and beautiful. So it was Rupa and Sanat Goswami, and they actually came. It was not a dream. They actually came and guided Prabhupada and encouraged him how to fulfill this mission, of really saving humanity in this Kali Yuga, giving them this knowledge. So then this boy was asking more, but Prabhupada did not reveal more. He did not want to say more. But he said that it was not a dream, because he heard some dogs barking in the background. So they actually came. So I mean, we can't even understand, Prabhupada's position. Yes. And I mean, it is pretty well established in ISKCON that Prabhupada was an associate of, in the spiritual world, like Rupa and Sanat Goswami. They were manjaris in Krishna Lila, in the spiritual world. So most likely Prabhupada was also one of the manjaris. And then Krishna ordered him to come to the Western world, to come to this material world and reach Krishna consciousness. So, and that's why the mantra is Rupa Manjari. She is Rupa Goswami. So, they appeared before and already were giving so much knowledge. And then when Prabhupada was here, they especially came and visited Prabhupada to give him some instructions, some guidance. And I'll share one more amazing story, a funny story. Because when Prabhupada was in Radha Damodar temple, he was publishing the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 3 volumes. And when he printed the 3rd volume, Prabhupada was so joyful, first canto is printed, And when you read the first canto, there is so much philosophy in the first canto. The purports are very long, because Prabhupada didn't know how much time will I have, how far will I get, will I manage all the cantos. So that's why he put all the basic philosophy and the tattva, he all put in the first canto almost. So and when he had the 3rd volume printed of the first canto, he went to one of his sadhu sanghas there, his sadhu friends in Vrindavan. They had some sangha. So Prabhupada went there, and he took the 3 volumes of the first canto with him to show them. And when he met them, he was all happy, saying, today, the last volume of first canto is printed, And because Prabhupada knew their mentality, that they were not so in favor of him going to America. Prabhupada knew this, but he wanted to get their blessings. So Prabhupada, very tricky, he said to them, you please bless the books that they will go to America. And then this person describing this whole story in this book. So then Prabhupada was passing around the stack of 3 volumes of first canto, and everybody was putting their hands on the books. Yes, we are blessing the books, no problem, we are blessing the books. So, and then Prabhupada said, so now you have blessed the books, but the books can't go there by themselves. Somebody has to go and take them there and popularize them. So now you please bless me that I can bring these books to America. You know? And these sadhus, they were all caught at surprise. You know? They didn't expect that. You know? But their heart was so moved and so conquered. You know? And their hearts were transformed. You know? And I couldn't help but blessing Prabhupada to go and get the books to America, you know. So in that way, Prabhupada got their blessings, you know. He really wanted that. So in such a cunning way, you know, he tricks them to first bless the books. And yeah, well, books can't go by themselves. Somebody has to take them there. So yeah. So the whole thing is just a real miracle.
Yes.
How Prabhupada made it, you know. And I mean, you probably know that Prabhupada had 2 heart attacks on the boat, you know. Yes, and he was sometimes saying that actually he was meant to leave his body, but Krishna extended his life, you know, just so he can fulfill his mission. And the first year, you know, in New York was very difficult. Actually, just a few months ago, I visited New York for the first time. I've done 3 times a tour around America, but I had never gone to New York before because there's so many cities, so many temples, you know. So, but this time I came to New York, and it was very moving for me. I visited 26 Second Avenue, Matchless Gift. You know, maybe you heard about it. Yeah. So I visited that for the first time. And now it is a little center. It's a little preaching center. You know, for some years it was not rented by the devotees, but now the devotees are renting it, and they renovated it, but they left it all pretty much as it was when Prabhupada was preaching there. And it is a pretty small place, you know. And they have programs there. So every Saturday evening they have a program, and they invited me to give the program. And they have the speaker sitting exactly where Prabhupada used to sit.
Right.
So you was there.
Yeah, so it was for me really a heart-moving experience, you know. And I could feel a strong energy there. Prabhupada was strongly present there, you know. And I remember reading all these stories how Prabhupada was lecturing there. Sometimes nobody came, you know. Yes, that's how Prabhupada started. Sometimes nobody came. Yes, but still Prabhupada was giving lecture, you know, even though nobody was there. But Prabhupada, and sometimes after a while, then, you know, some hippies, they helped him and everything. And then sometimes when there was only 1 or 2 of his followers sitting there, nobody came. And they were saying to Prabhupada, oh, I'm sorry, Swamiji, nobody came. And then Prabhupada was saying, what do you mean nobody came? Didn't you see? Narada Muni was there, you know, and so many others were there. So didn't you see? You know, so Prabhupada had that vision. Even though no people from New York came, but all the demigods were there. Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, they all came. Yes, yes. And very in the early days, Prabhupada was actually suggesting to make some asanas in the temple room for the demigods.
Oh, Krishna.
Yes,
Krishna.
that they can also come, and you know, I mean, they come also without asana, but just to give them some respect and offer them some seed. because they were coming to listen to Prabhupada, and Prabhupada could see them. Yes. Yeah, so this 22nd Avenue, that was very special experience. And then I also went and visited Tompkins Square Park. You heard about Tompkins Square Park?
Yes.
Where Prabhupada had the first public kirtan, first harinam. And there's this big tree, maybe you've seen on photos.
In a photo, yes.
Yes. So I wanted to go and see the park, And now the tree, I mean, this is 50 years later, so now the tree is quite big, Yes. And there is a little sign up on the top, Hare Krishna tree.
Hare Krishna tree.
Yes.
Krishna.
And then there is, behind the tree is some fence, and there is a bigger sign describing that this is the tree where, Srila Prabhupada had the first public kirtan, and it was very important. This very important place for the Hare Krishna movement, and there's a whole description there, Yeah, so these places, and I was thinking, God, this tree is a pretty special soul. Huh? Yes. Just imagine what this tree witnessed, standing there for so many years, giving shade to Prabhupada, and witnessing all these hippies coming, dancing, chanting, So very special soul, Very first public harinam in the Western world, Yeah, so these places are very, very important and special and moving, Yeah, so we have to make an effort to get to know Prabhupada more deeply. Yes. By not only reading his books, but also books about his life. And then we get to know Prabhupada as a person. It's like when you look at an artwork, a nice painting. So that's very nice. But then when you meet the person who painted it, this is even more special. And then when you meet the person, then you also have a different relationship to the painting. So similar, it's with Prabhupada. His books are his work of art, but then when you read books about him, it's like meeting the artist. And then when you get to know Prabhupada as a person, then his books are even more special and more dear to you, And then you feel deeply connected to Prabhupada. And that empowers us to give Prabhupada to others, and to do some preaching. Yes. All right. So, we have any questions?
Professor, can you just say us how you joined with ISKCON?
How I joined?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I was living in Germany, and I was working in medical profession as a physiotherapist and rehabilitation, treating people after motorbike accidents when they lose one leg. They fall on one side, lose one leg. So I had to train them to walk with some wooden leg there, plastic leg, and all these kind of things. So I always wanted to help suffering people, so that's why I took this profession. But then, and while I was working, I could very quickly understand that I can't give people real happiness with my treatments. And I could see that there's some other reason why people are suffering. And even though I was earning good money, I was working self-employed in a private practice. I could work as much as I like. So for some years I was working for 6 months, and then I was traveling for 6 months. And then I was coming back to my work. I was working with the other physiotherapists in practice. So and I said to them, okay, I'm going away for 6 months, so 1st of July you can put some patients in my calendar. So it was ideal job actually, and I was earning good money. But still, in my heart, I didn't feel real satisfaction. So, and then I came to this point where I was so frustrated that I gave up everything, even before I met the devotees. And I was actually, unknowingly, I was looking for ISKCON. I was looking for an organization which is doing something really, really, really important work in this world. So I checked out everything I could find. Any kind of alternative organization and this and that, but nothing really satisfied me. And then I came to this point where I felt so frustrated that I sold everything. I gave everything away, all my medical books, everything, because I somehow knew I would not go back to this work. And I was 25 at that time. And my parents, of course, thought I was going crazy, and my friends also. But I somehow, it was Paramatma really pushing me. So, and then I traveled all around the planet, all around Europe, around South Africa, around Australia. And then finally in Australia, I met the devotees. Yes. I came to a farm outside Sydney, and I had no idea about Krishna consciousness. Actually, in 1972 or something, so Prabhupada was still there, I met a little Harinam party in Germany on the street. Yes, I was a schoolgirl then. I was.
It was by Prabhupada?
Huh?
It was by Srila Prabhupada?
So, and I walked up this shopping street, and the Harinam party was there. And by the time I came up there, they stopped. And I was all disappointed. Oh, what is this? They stopped. And what are these guys in orange and shaved head? So, and then one Brahmachari came and gave me a Bhagavad Gita.
Oh.
And he said, here, this is for you. And I said, okay, thank you very much. So, and then he asked me for some money, but I was a school kid, and in those days, school girls didn't have much money in the pocket. I only had enough money for the bus. So, and I said to him, oh, I'm sorry, I don't have any money. And then he said, you can keep it anyway. And he gave it to me for free, which he usually should not do, but he did that. So, and I remember I was sitting in the bus, looking at the pictures.
Oh, Krishna.
And I was thinking, what is this? Why are they giving books away for free on the street? What the hell is that? Looking at the pictures. And I remember something was happening in my heart. And then I came home and I showed to my mother, look what book I got. And why are they giving these books away for free on the street? Such big books. And she said, oh, I don't know, they're propagating something. So then we put it in the bookshelf. Nobody ever read it. But then so many years later, when I came to this Hare Krishna farm, I actually only wanted to stay there for a week or 10 days just to work in the garden. I was like some volunteer, to work in the garden for free food, free accommodation. I was traveling around Australia. So when I saw these orange guys, I thought, oh, I met them once before.
Yeah.
You know, oh no, what is this? Where am I here? You know? So, and then there was one devotee from Switzerland. And he had some German books, because at that time my English was not so fluently that I could read Bhagavad Gita in English or something. So he had some German books, and he was giving me some books, Bhagavad Gita and Science of Self-Realization. And he was the head pujari, and he engaged me in the pujari room. Even though I had no intention to become a devotee, I was not even wearing sari. I had my hippie clothes. But he allowed me to go to the pujari room, even in my funny hippie clothes. And he was engaging me, polishing the brass, the paraphernalia, you know, anti-tray polishing, cleaning, washing the floor. And he was preaching to me all day and keeping me busy there all day preaching. And then, well, actually after 4 days I wanted to leave, because actually my visa for Australia was finishing and I wanted to go to New Zealand and continue there my search. You know, I was really searching, looking for so many. In North Australia, there's all these hippie communes and spiritual groups, and I was checking them all out, looking, but I couldn't find what I was looking for. You know? So, and after 4 days, I was thinking, you know, maybe it's time for me to leave. So then this Pujari said, you can't leave now. You promised you would stay 10 days. You can't leave. So I thought, all right, you know, if you want, I can stay a few more days. So, and then I started reading. The first few days I didn't read. I was just serving, and he was preaching to me, and I asked all different questions. And he was a very good preacher. You know? He explained things very nicely. But I wasn't reading. And every day he asked me, so, did you start reading? Did you start reading? And I said, no. So, but I thought, all right, let me start. First chapter of Bhagavad Gita, there was too many names for me. You know? Too confusing. Yeah. So then I went to second chapter, you know? And Bhagavad Gita is summarized. So many powerful verses in that chapter, you know? Especially about death, you know, Dehinus Manyatari, and all these verses. And they were really like eye-openers for me, you know. And then I had this feeling one evening, I have to try this process. You know, yeah, it was really like, you know, Krishna really capturing me, you know. And that was it. I realized no need to go anywhere. I need to stay and start. And within a few days, I chanted 16 rounds. And then I just moved from the guest room to the Brahmacharini ashram. Yeah, it was within 7, 8 days. You know?
7 days.
Yeah. I moved into the ashram, and then I put a sari on tilak, chanted 16 rounds within a few days. And yeah, and it was such a relief. It was really like, oh, finally I found what I was looking for, you know. Yes. Yeah, so and since then I never left Krishna consciousness, and I was full-time all these years. I never went back to my medical work or anything. Never, not a single day I worked in my profession. Not a single day. So now I'm doing rehabilitation for the soul, not the body.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, our soul needs rehabilitation very badly, you know. So now I'm, you know. Yeah, and then I was 4 years in the Brahmacharini ashram there in Sydney, you know, and I got training. And I think you were here yesterday. Yes.
I was not there.
You were not here. I was also married for 10 years, so I didn't look always like this, you know. When I was married, I had hair and colorful saris and earrings and nose ring and bangles and everything, you know. Yes. So in my 10 years of marriage, we established the temple in Riga, in Latvia.
In German?
Latvia, Riga.
Oh.
This is Baltic countries, just opposite Sweden. There's Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania.
Yes.
Yes,
I got it.
yes. So because my ex-husband's parents were from there, and they immigrated to Australia after the war. So my ex-husband was Australian. He was born there, but at home he learned Latvian language. And he was 7 years brahmachari, and he always wanted to go there to preach. So, and I liked this adventurous spirit. I thought, okay, I'm going to marry him, and I'm going to go and travel and preach with him. So we went 2 months after our marriage, we went to Latvia, and we started there from nothing. There was no temple, nothing, no deities, no building, nothing. So, and we were establishing a nice temple there. It's still there now, in the middle of the city, very good location. We came there at the perfect time in 1989, just when the whole communist system fell apart. And at that time, you could get good buildings for very cheap. So we got this building. The roof was burned out. There was no roof on the building for 1 year, and all rain and snow came in. And they actually wanted to pull down the building. So we just moved in, we fixed it up. Yes. And we established a nice temple there with restaurant, shop, everything in the middle of the city. But then 1999, my husband left Krishna consciousness, even though we had such adventurous life, but Maya was very strong, so he somehow thought he missed out on something. So I'm not quite sure what he's doing. He's not practicing now, but he's still a little connected with some devotees over Facebook or something. But I don't think he is practicing and not much following. He's still vegetarian, but still eggs he also eats it, So, but anyway, for me this was perfect. I was married from 30 to 40, just what I needed. And then for me it was very natural to move on to the renounced phase of life. And since 1999, I'm basically traveling, preaching all over the world, basically to so many countries. And you also from Bangladesh?
Yes.
Yes. So and since 1999 was the first time I came to Bangladesh. So that's 24 years. And from then onwards, I came every year. Only pandemic, I couldn't go for 2 years or something. But last year I went, and this year I'm also going shortly. This year a little unstable because elections are next year.
Yes.
And before elections, always crazy time with all these strikes. But I will still go at least for 1 week to Dhaka.
Dhaka.
Yes. In Uttara, we have a temple.
Uttara,
yes, that's near the airport. At Swami Bagh. You've been to Swami Bagh? Anybody?
Yes. No.
Swami Bagh? Yes. Actually, I was very much helping to get that property.
Okay.
Yes. I mean, I don't want to glorify myself, but I'm just sharing with you. For many years, I was collecting Lakshmi for Bangladesh. And I collected a lot of money to buy this property, and we had to remove all the people who lived there. We had to pay them some money to move the property. And I was very much involved with Swami Bagh right from day number 1.
Okay, yes, in Bangladesh.
Yes. And now they finally start to construct something, quite a big project with the underground car park and everything, But also Silat, I hope there, Rup Sanatan Tirtha near Jessore, Khulna.
Yes.
You've been to Rup Sanatan Smriti Tirtha? You've been?
Yes.
Yes? Really? Yes?
Yes.
Yeah, I also helped constructing that temple too.
Okay.
For the last so many years I've been going very regularly, and 2 times even my father came with me. I traveled with my father around Bangladesh. He also really loved Bangladesh. Yeah, so Bangladesh has always been very dear to me. You know devotees in Swami Bhat? Jagat Guru Guranga? You know him? You know him? Really? Yes. So I know him since he is a teenager. I could see that he's very intelligent, you know. So I spent a lot of time with him and shared with him about Prabhupada and ISKCON. And I arranged for him to go to different temples, to Chowpatty in Mumbai, to get some training. And so we've been working very closely together since the year 2000, 2001. I know him for so long, you know. And he only went to school until he was 14. He has no higher education.
I listen class 5.
Class 5.
Class 5.
See? So I mean, this is not very long. And he comes from Kulna district, Rupsanatan area. I've been to his village, to his house, where his parents live. So we did some house program there. And he told me there was a village program with Matager Maharaj. He was coming and doing a village program. And then as soon as he saw the devotees there, he knew all these other people I want to join.
Oh, Krishna.
Yes. And he just joined, ISKCON. And just joined the Brahmachari ashram. And he was traveling with Krishna Kirtan Prabhu. Anybody of you met Krishna Kirtan Prabhu?
No.
But you heard his name, huh?
Yes.
Yes, so I knew Krishna Kirtan Prabhu. I used to also travel with him at the beginning and do programs and all that. That's where I met Jagat Guru Prabhu, and then we started having different kinds of programs and so on. Yeah, so then he was traveling a lot with Krishna Kirtan Prabhu, and he trained him in singing, Madanga playing. Jagat Guru Prabhu is one of the best Madanga players in the whole world of ISKCON. He plays so nicely. And he has beautiful voice. You've heard him singing? Yeah, he sings very nicely, Yes. And he's so humble, even though he has all these wonderful qualities. He's very, very humble, and he always keeps himself in the background, and he pushes the others forward. And very, very rare to find.
When he left his body, he just finished one bhajan kirtan, and after some time he left his body.
When Krishna Kirtan Prabhu left his body, could be.
He's such a devotee.
Yeah, so in Jagat Guru Prabhu, he has a lot of potentials, I hope that one day he will take sannyas and travel. I tried so many times to bring him to the West, but somehow we could never get a visa for him, but I hope the time will come where he can travel and preach, and yes. Yes.
Two questions.
Two questions.
One is, as you said, you have medical practice.
Yes.
For me, it's very hard to see suffering. How do we relate this to spirituality?
Okay.
Second is,
Then let me first answer that.
Thank you.
I have some nice audience here.
So pure nectar. Srila Prabhupada story,
And these boys are so eager to hear it,
This is what we need.
Yes. And I tell you, if you have somebody here who gives every evening some classes, then things will grow, Yes. We have to, these boys are already eager to hear something, Yes.
We know, but we hear every time we hear, it's more and more
Nectar.
Wonderful, amazing.
Thank you. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Yeah, so he has this question. He finds it difficult to see suffering people, when they're sick or something. So how can we connect this with spirituality? See, we have to understand that the final solution to all disease is not to get another material body. That's the final solution. Yes, because as long as we have material body, there will always be disease. There will always be suffering. So the final solution, and I realized this very quickly, as soon as I met the devotees, I realized final solution is no more material body. And all the suffering we have, all the diseases, accidents, this is according to our karma. It doesn't happen by chance. It's our karma. So we must have done some sinful reactions, sinful activities, something bad. So and then we have an accident. See, this was also one question I was wondering. During my medical work, I could see some people have so much suffering in their life, one thing after the other, so many diseases, accidents. But then other people, everything goes so nice and smooth, and everything seems so happy and peaceful. So there must be some reason. It cannot be some coincidence that some people are suffering so much, some people are enjoying so much. And I was always wondering, why is this? And why are so bad things happen to nice people? There must be some higher law, some higher control. And even when we, sometimes we have children, they get cancer, and then people who don't have spiritual knowledge, they think, oh, the innocent children are suffering. But no, when you have spiritual knowledge, you understand. So the soul was in a different body in previous life. They're not that innocent. They've done some sinful activities in their previous life. And that's why already as a young child, they get some reactions, they suffer. That's the spiritual vision, So that's why it's so important to get spiritual knowledge, spiritual education, that we see the world and life with spiritual vision, So, when we, of course, we also need some doctors in this world. But there's enough doctors out there.
Yes.
The world has enough doctors. But actually, the world doesn't have enough preachers who give the spiritual understanding. So, all right, sometimes we have to fix the body, so we can continue serving, But ultimately, treating the body is more like a short-term patching up solution. It's not the final solution. So because even when we cure the body, all right, for a few years we will be healthy, but sooner or later something else will happen. Sooner or later, body will fall apart. Doesn't matter how advanced our medical science is, body will fall apart sooner or later. So, and the final solution is not to take another birth. That's the final solution of all disease. And no matter how advanced our medical science is, there's always new diseases. So we will never conquer disease. Birth, death, old age, disease, they're the four sufferings of life in the material world. We cannot find any solution to this. They will always be there. Death will always be there. Old age will always be there. Disease will always be there. So, yes.
I mean, I haven't read very well, but from the story, like the Lord stories that I've heard, that we saw Lord Narasimha, like came to help
Yes.
Prahlad,
Yes.
as well as I mean, so many the appearance of Lord in Mahabharata as well.
Yes.
So, I mean, but how do we when someone when a good person is suffering, I mean, how come we don't see what we saw, what we heard, Puranas?
Well, good person. What do you mean? Do you mean good person? Prahlad was not only a good person; he was a pure devotee. And he had complete faith and surrender to Krishna. So, and that's why Lord Nrsimhadev appeared and protected him. But now comes the big but. See, the ultimate protection is to protect our remembrance of Krishna. That's the protection we should be praying for. You understand what I'm saying? Yes. Because very often, like even in Bangladesh, as soon as the devotees step in the car and drive, they sing the Nrsimhadev prayers. Yeah. And usually people just think of, they just pray to Lord Nrsimhadev to protect the body from accidents. All right, Krishna may protect the body or maybe not. That's not the highest form of protection, to protect the body. Because sooner or later the body will be smashed. Sooner or later. But the highest form of protection is to protect our remembrance of Krishna, that we remember him at the moment of death. That's the highest protection. Because then we get out of the material world. So we should be praying for that. We should be praying, Krishna, whatever you want to do with me, I accept. But please allow me to remember you at the moment of death. Yes, we should not pray, oh, please Krishna help me with this, and please Krishna send me a nice wife, and please Krishna give me a good job, and please Krishna do this, and oh, please Krishna, cure me for my disease. No, that's not pure bhakti. I'm yours, I'm that, but please allow me to remember you. That's what we should be praying for. Yeah.
And the second was
Second question.
yeah, that's why I did tell.
Okay.
This is very, I think, from your perspective, from all the books and all the information you have read or known about Srila Prabhupada, I mean, what was Prabhupada's view about all the religions? So many religions exist, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, view before and after, before going to the West and and after going to the West, did the views of religions change, or was it was it the same when Prabhupada was in India? Because in India, when Prabhupada was in Vrindavan, right?
Yeah.
So which is mostly Vaishnavism or
Yes.
the Hinduism.
Yes.
But
yes.
once Srila Prabhupada did go to West, so it is different.
Yes.
So did the views change, or?
No, the views not so much, because Prabhupada knew why there's so many religions. Because in former times, the whole world was one kingdom, right? And Sanatan Dharma was one religion all over the world, actually. So, and then this one kingdom split up in so many kingdoms. And it's still more and more splitting up, One world religion developed in different ways. Yes, yes. So it's simply the world and the different kingdoms over the years, it developed differently, Like even in Christianity, There is one book, the title is Jesus Lived in India. Yes. I read half of that book. I bought it once for my mother secondhand, and I read half of it, and then I left it with her. And this is written by a German theology expert. And he says that Jesus did not die on the cross. Actually, his followers took him down, and he escaped along the Silk Road back to India. Yes. And he says that in Kashmir is actually his samadhi, his grave. Yes. And in that book it said that Jesus was studying the Puranas. Yes. And that he had a guru in India. Yes. So I see Jesus like a pure devotee who actually came to this world to preach God consciousness. And actually once I remember my father did not really practice Krishna consciousness, but he was so attracted to India. He spent the last 20 years of his life, every year he visited India. My father traveled around. And once he said to me, actually Prabhupada is like Jesus. And I said, yes, exactly. You are completely right. You got it right. Prabhupada is like Jesus, who came to this world to preach God consciousness. That's what Jesus did too. So yes, and that there's other devotees also in our movement who studied comparative religions. And they also say that the Bible had so many things in it about reincarnation, karma, everything was in the Bible too. But the Bible was always changed, in the name of progressive life and reformation. They took all different parts of the Bible out, different parts of knowledge that they took out. So we have the different religions because people want them, Not everybody wants to practice the highest standards of no meat, fish, and eggs, no intoxication, no gambling, no illicit sex life. Not everybody wants to live this. So, if you like to drink wine and smoke cigarettes and, do so many other things, eat meat, be a Christian, So at least there's some understanding of God being there. They go to the church, they offer some prayers, at least something. So, and Prabhupada gives this example of small dictionary and big dictionary. So many people are happy with a small dictionary. They only want some basic meanings of some words, very simple, basic. But then some people, they want the big dictionary. They want the more detailed knowledge, So for them, Krishna consciousness is the right thing. My mother, for example, she tried to give me some spiritual, religious values. She was definitely my first guru. And she took me to church and she tried to find some intelligent priests who would give good lectures and all this. But then when I was a little older, I just couldn't find the answers to my questions. There's not so much philosophy in Christianity. And it was all a bit too wishy-washy and sentimental and all this, So and I was already, as a small child, I was very inquisitive. I always asked about the why and what happens and this and that. And I just couldn't find the answers, So and then for those people who are inquisitive, Krishna arranges that they meet a devotee and they get the deeper knowledge. And now when I go back to Christianity, I can understand more what they are trying to say because I have the knowledge of Krishna consciousness. Yes. and then I can understand more what they're actually trying to teach, Yes. So, and there is a lot of nice prayers in Krishna consciousness, which sounds like Guru Goswami longing for the Lord, calling out to the Lord. It's actually also there in Christianity, but people don't practice it anymore. So, and that should be a warning to us that we don't, Yes. That we many compromises and we now. Yes. Or 80 years ago, this was not allowed in Christianity. That's why it loses potency. So we have to be very careful that this doesn't happen. Krishna consciousness.
Mataji, a small question.
Oh, really?
Yes.
20 to 9?
It's different question.
Last question.
Yes.
Okay.
So our Vijay Prabhu, this our Vijay Prabhu.
Okay.
He already takes shelter is Prabhupada, and he is follow everything. 16 round chanting for regulation rules follow.
Okay.
But he thinking about take initiation is different thinking. This is His Holiness Radhanath Swami Guru Maharaj. His disciple is Gaur Gopal Prabhu.
Okay.
So he like him.
Good.
So he thinking when he takes sannyas, become Diksha Guru, he take Diksha that time. So this thinking is right or wrong? He do know.
Well, we don't know whether he will take sannyas and we will become a Diksha Guru. We don't know. And maybe you could wait many years, So I usually advise people to take Diksha of those personalities who are authorized to give Diksha. And you keep him as your Shiksha Guru, And because ultimately, Shiksha can be just as important as Diksha. See, the spiritual heart is large. There is not only room for one person. There can be so many persons in the heart. Yes. So, because see, if you follow everything so nicely, it may be better for your spiritual development to take Diksha of another person who you like, whose preaching you like, and then you can develop yourself more spiritually. You initiate it, then after some time you get second initiation, so then you can be trained on the altar, how to do puja, how to cook the Rajbhog offering for the Lord. All these things you can only learn when you initiate it. So, and who knows whether he will ever take sannyas and become a Diksha Guru. I think he's pretty young. Huh? How old is he?
35 or 40.
And another thing is,
See, because we have now the rule in ISKCON, you have to be around 50 to take sannyas, you know? So it seems like, you know,
Mataji?
too long waiting. You know?
Another thing is, the Guru Kripa is generation by generation same thing, Guru Kripa. But who is still now Prabhupada disciples, Guru Maharaj, Diksha Guru, everybody is special.
Well, see, Guru doesn't have to be Prabhupada disciple. We have also gurus who are initiating who are not Prabhupada disciple.
But still who have Diksha Guru is Prabhupada disciples,
Yeah.
is special.
Well, it's special, but then again, it is not such a requirement. I mean, did you know Kadambakanana
Yes.
Swami?
Yes.
So he's not a Prabhupada disciple, you know?
No.
But have you met him? Did you meet him personally?
No, but I listened his kirtan.
Yes, yes. So I met him personally. I knew him quite well because he was spending a lot of time also during pandemic in Germany, and I met him there. And so I've talked to him many times. So he actually was also disciple of Bhavananda. That was my first guru also in Australia. So we were actually godbrother, godsisters at that time. Yeah. And he inspired so many devotees all over the world, you know. So that's the thing. We can be connected to Prabhupada, even if we have never met Prabhupada. You know, and then we get Prabhupada's empowerment, we get his Shakti, you know, even if we are not direct Prabhupada disciple. So that's not the main important thing, you know. But it is more an internal thing, how much we are internally connected with Prabhupada. Because so many Prabhupada disciples, they left. They're not in ISKCON anymore, they're not practicing. So just being his disciple is not the main important thing. The main important thing is the internal connection, you know. But in any case, I usually advise people not to wait for personalities who are so young, where it's not 100% sure whether they really take sannyas, whether they really become Dikshaguru. Better to look amongst those personalities who are initiating. You know? So Radha Swami is coming next week. Have you met him personally?
No, I didn't meet him personally.
Well, next week you will meet him, huh? He's coming next week Thursday here to Paris. You know that?
Yes, 24th of August.
Yes. Yeah,
August
that's next week Thursday. That's when I go to New Mayapur. I actually didn't know that he's coming. But I will go to New Mayapur. He will come there also. I will see him there.
My long time dream, I met him.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So, you know, maybe you feel inspired to take shelter of him. And then you can always have him as your main guide and coach and Shikshagu, you know? Then you're in one line there. And also Radha Swami has another very wonderful disciple, Bhakti Rasamrita Maharaj. You know him? You've met him personally?
Personally, no. But I listen his Bangla lecture. He understand Bengali.
I actually, before he took sannyas, I invited him to Bangladesh. He visited for one convention. Any of you attended the Hare Krishna convention at Upsanand Tirtha? No. We had many years. I was introducing this convention, and I invited him before he was taking sannyas to come to him. He is one of my board members in my little institute for spiritual culture. That's a Russian